Mailbag Day. We're going to answer a couple of questions from the YouTube comments, maybe from Twitter, possibly from the email. I've yet to check it. It's on Locked On Syracuse. It's right now.
Are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Matt Bonaparte, Owen Valentine with you on your Wednesday episode of Locked On Syracuse. Thanks for being with us as your first listen every day. We very much appreciate it. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And today we are talking mailbag. If you saw our tweet, trying to answer as many questions as we can. We only got 2 or 3, which is fine. People, they're in their holiday haze. I understand that. But if you want to get in on the questions, I'll either follow us on Twitter, tweet at us at LO_Syracuse, or email us at LOSyracuse44@gmail.com, or you can just leave them in the YouTube comments because we're happy to answer questions there as well. A little bit more housekeeping. Nice. I like that from you, Owen. Always with the cards, the visuals. People like that. Have you decided, Owen, how you want to give away these tickets?
I have not yet officially, but it is happening. I'm eyeing tickets. I'm trying to figure out what would work best. I'm looking for right now. I'm thinking the Virginia game at the end of January. Good game, very good opponent. It is on a weeknight, so maybe I'll change to get a weekend game, better fitting for a family. But that Virginia game should be a fun one. So I was hoping to do that. But who knows? It's up for debate in terms of what game. It is also up for debate at the moment in terms of how I'm going to go about giving this away, how we're going to go about giving this away. It'll either be like a random drawing, probably held over on Twitter, or as I said before, if you know someone that maybe wouldn't get to a game otherwise, let us know. We would love to put somebody into the Dome this season who maybe might not be able to get over there. So whatever you can do, if you know someone that might be in that boat, let us know. If not, no worries. We'll do a drawing, get somebody some tickets in there for what should be one of the biggest, conference games at home this season in terms of how the opponent is performing so far, which I hope would be a good game and something people will want to get to.
Totally. All right. Well, let us know if you know somebody or if you are that person. We'd love to get those tickets to somebody. But let's start on our mailbag today. First question comes from Cole at Cole Fluker on Twitter. He is a person who comments very often. So, Cole, we appreciate you. He says, do you think our defensive and offensive lines will be better now that we added more size and depth? I think let's start on the defensive end. You are adding Braylon Ingram. You are losing Steve Linton. I think that the defensive line could be better, but I don't know how much losing Tony White's going to hurt. Or maybe Rocky Long just, picks it up out of nowhere and is just the man because he is the godfather at the end of the day. But another year of Okechukwu, hopefully. He hasn't said anything about a transfer at all or anything like that. But I think the defensive line could be better. I mean, this is a guy in Braylon Ingram that medically retired not long ago and is coming back to play for Syracuse now. He hasn't played much at Bama, only a couple of games here and there. Under 30 snaps, you said, Owen?
I think it was
Pre-pop?
26 defensive snaps, yeah.
So, I mean, this is a guy who hasn't played a ton. Yes, he was a huge prospect, but a lot of injuries held him
He hasn't
back.
played since 2021. So
yeah.
he's
So
played 2 games in 21 and did not play at all this season because of medical retirement.
Yeah, so I don't know
kind of a coin flip
what the defensive line is going to look like. It could be better, though, because guys there are developing. And, even if Braylon Ingram isn't the greatest player in the world, he's still been coached by Alabama, and he's got that in his back pocket.
Yeah, I mean the coaching and the experience, even if it's not necessarily in-game, on-field experience, I got to imagine what you can take away from 4 years of witnessing practice at Alabama can mean for your IQ in terms of football IQ and just your knowledge of the game and being able to execute. I think is a really big sign. But as you were saying, right, he hasn't played in a long time, and he hasn't played meaningful snaps, really, or significant snaps since high school 4 or 5 years ago, right? So it's a bit of a coin flip, and sometimes, right, it lands on heads.
He's flipping a coin.
Sometimes it doesn't, right? You got to see, is this going to work? Is this not? I will say, regardless of sort of his performance when he gets here, I think this is a D line that can stay stagnant at the worst. I don't think the loss of Linton is catastrophic. I think you've got similar pieces in what you've got coming back. Um, Obviously, you want it to get better, right? It was not incredible this season by any stretch of the imagination. You want it to improve, take those next steps. I don't know if I think it's getting there. I don't think this D line is getting worse, though, I will say. And Ingram brings potential, and potential is important for making any sort of jump. So if he can come out maybe with a year off, getting a little bit healthier, it was a knee thing that led him to that decision. A little bit healthier, maybe a little bit better off right now in terms of the body's doing all right. Maybe he makes some sort of impact, some sort of jump. But he really is a pure and utter crapshoot at this point, and I don't know what he is going to be able to do impact wise. I'll tell you what, though, right when you look at this squad and who's coming back, there are fun names returning on the D line and guys that we've grown to really enjoy watching. Kevon Darton took everybody, the sawed off nose tackle or sawed off defensive lineman, whatever you want
That
to
was
say.
it.
Yeah, not a nose tackle. The sawed off everything was that favorite buzzword that he just kept drawing from commentators. I think if you can get him into a fun role where he's not the starter and can come in and take certain snaps and sort of be that spark, be that guy, that would be really cool. But Jatius Gear, I think, really played well in my mind, and I wasn't necessarily expecting it this season from him. So him coming back in as well, I think there's some fun options and some guys that you can enjoy. And obviously, we haven't heard anything from Okachukwu yet, so hopefully that means some good things, and you're going to have a little bit of experience, and that is what I think can probably lead to your biggest jump on the D line is going to be just that additional year under the belt of experience, getting better, another off season, learning. The shift in coordinators might play an impact, but right, this for Okachukwu, this is D coordinator number 3 in his time here, right? I'm
Um,
thinking.
yes.
So,
No.
no? How long was White here? 3 years, right?
He was here in 2020. Oh no, probably yes.
Right? Third coordinator.
Yes.
Um,
Third coordinator.
that's tough. It's different, but a lot of coaching, a lot of info. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure where things lie in terms of the huge improvement, but I do think I will safely say they're not taking any major steps back.
Yeah. I think that is the only thing we can say, but at the same time, I mean, I guess we'll find out. Okay. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk offensive line. This one brought to you by BetOnline.net. It's the number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and the World Cup. It's all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, they've got those too. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts. Okie dokie. Offensive line, where this is where. So, in the comment, Cole says, "Do you think the lines will be better now that they have more size and depth?" I don't know necessarily if the offensive line has more depth. I mean, you're losing Bergeron, you're losing Dakota Davis, you're losing Carlos Vatarello, and you're replacing those guys with a lot younger guys. In Kalon Ellis is going to play. I mean, I guess he started all year, but Jacob Bradford's going to play. Chris Bleich is coming back, right? Joe Moore is transferring in from Richmond. You're going to see Enrique Cruz more. Josh Iloa is going to play. So I don't know. I really think that there's the potential for this group to even take a step backward, though. I mean, the Pinstripe Bowl is going to be a little bit telling. And I think that we already have seen those guys play a decent amount, especially in that BC game where a lot of guys didn't travel because of injuries. I think I have decent faith in this offensive line, but I don't know necessarily that they're going to be better.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say they're going to be better. I don't really know what the answer is for this one, and it's something that we're going to need some time to fully understand. They're bringing back guys, but they're losing the best piece to this line clearly in Bergeron. But I don't know, right? Can Enrique Cruz make a big jump? Can other guys,
I
fill
think
in
that he's
and
the guy to
and
look for.
be the jump that you need them to make and elevating from seeing sparse snaps here and there to being, the full time guy. I don't know. I think Joe Moore, sorry, thinking there's two Cruzes on this line. So that's where the brain goes for last names. But Joe Moore, I think, is gonna be an important addition, obviously. And you don't want to start true freshmen, but Vincent Carroll Jackson wouldn't have been a terrible name to have in this O line conversation as well. But it is what it is. And are you going to make steps forward with a little bit of extra experience? I hope. But I don't know because this is an O line that wasn't incredible this year, was not really great this year, was good at times, but
It was
definitely some
fine.
struggles. And the strong point are walking out. I will say, Veterella's gone. Penalty should be down, hopefully. But who knows?
He was trying to set the record, I'm telling you. Okay. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a year for this is a hugely telling year for Dino. Like this is another era shifting year where a lot of guys are out the door, and next year will be as well when you change starting quarterbacks. I mean, the year after next. So these are going to be a couple of super telling years for Dino, and ones that are going to be incredibly crucial to his future with the team because if they don't perform in these couple of years, it's hard to point anywhere else. But hey, let's get off the football topic. Let's go to our other
I'm
question,
fired up
which
for this.
is
I'm fired up.
it's a very good one. Owen was very, very excited about this, and rightfully so. It comes from Dylan at Man United. Dylan, he says, "What's your all-time favorite Syracuse starting five from your lifetime?" Of course, he's talking basketball, not best starting lineup. Favorite. His is Michael Carter Williams at the one, Devo at the two, Carmelo at the three, Hakeem at the four, and Jesse manning the middle under the basket. This is your favorite Syracuse starting five. Not the best. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going for the team that would score the most points or play the best. It is your five favorite guys. And we are amending it a little bit. We're going to add a sixth man just because that's just what we like.
Yes. Let's also
But this
throw it
should
out
be fun.
there.
Oh, and
It's in your lifetime as well.
yes,
So
in your
that
lifetime. So
puts
don't
me
come at us in the comments being like, you didn't see John Wallace playing. Like we get it. All right. We were born after you. We understand.
at
What do you want from us?
98 on for
Um,
me,
for
2000
me,
whatever.
2000 on.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got going. Um, and obviously that even means a little bit further because of what we can remember. So really, for me, it's like 2009 on. I don't know what for you.
I would say anywhere from the year 2000 on is fair game for both of us. But
You remember from 2000?
not from 2000, but just to put a year, the turn of the century and forward, I guess is where you're sort of settled.
Okay. Well, Owen, how would you like to do this? Do you think we should go like position group by position group
Yeah.
and like both give ours,
Start
or
with the
should we
one,
just
go to the
both
two,
list
the
off the
three,
players?
four, five, and then six
Okay.
man.
I think I'm going to give you the guys I have at the top of the zone, just my top two guys. And then you give me yours,
Okay.
and then we can do wings, and then we can do center, and then we can do six man. So my two guys at the top of the zone are Brandon Trish, Syracuse's all-time winningest player, and Michael Carter Williams. I mean, I loved watching those guys play. Brandon Trish for me was always he was just such a great leader on the team. And he started from like day one, which is also why I loved him because he was one of those guys in college basketball where I think around the landscape, people were going, he's still there. Like that guy's still there. He was a part of so many winning teams. He was so freaking good. I loved watching Brandon Trish play. And then Michael Carter Williams, of course, went to the NBA, won the Rookie of the Year award. I mean, he was so great at the top of the zone. And in his sophomore season, I mean, he was absolutely electric. So MC Dub and Brandon Trish are at the top of my zone.
I got a little bit shorter of a starting two there, but I got Jerry McNamara running the point. That is the stretch of my memory. That is what I see when I think to early fandom, growing up a Syracuse fan, watching Syracuse football or basketball. Geez, I'm still in a football brain. Watching Syracuse basketball early on and going to games. And I remember we shared season tickets growing up. So seeing those games and just seeing him sort of encapsulate everything you wanted from a Syracuse basketball player, not an NBA guy, a guy that's sticking it through, doing his thing, sort of a lost art when it comes to players at this point in time. I love when that happens, and he sort of is the one that jumps out for Syracuse for me. At the two, I'm going early in my fandom again for this one with a guy in Andy Routins, who is
Nice.
just fun. I love a shooter in this lineup in terms of favorites. I don't think I could convince myself to say Trevor Cooney as much as I liked him more than I
There was
think
a
many other
moment
people
where I
might
think
have.
everybody would have said Trevor Cooney, but it just,
Yeah,
it
it's
petered
not
off.
all right. It's not all right. It is okay. Devendorf needs an honorable mention at the two spot, I think. But I'm going with GMAC and Routins on this one as the top of my zone as well in terms of favorites. And they both sort of mentally to me symbolize early fandom and growing up and just pure excellence as well to throw in there to boot.
Yeah. Those are good ones. I like that we're also totally different.
Yes,
We
it's
didn't agree
favorite.
on anything.
It's not best.
I don't know if that's going to continue, but
We'll see.
for me, this list had two guys immediately that I put on the team who were my two favorite Syracuse basketball players of all time, and I'm not sure that it will ever change. And one of them is a wing, the other one's a center. So I'll go to my wings now. The man I'm talking about, CJ Fair. I mean, I love CJ Fair. Like that guy, he was my guy. I freaking loved him. I mean, whether it was him on a poster dunk or just him making the dome explode. I love that he was a lefty. I mean, he was just everything you wanted in a Syracuse basketball player. I wish he actually made it to the league or anything like that, but just wasn't to happen. But he was my guy growing up from 2010 to 2014, watching Syracuse basketball, going to the Final Four. I mean, he was just a dog. I loved watching him. He's probably if not my favorite, my second favorite player of all time.
I like that. He's on mine as well, so I'll throw him in now. Continue the chatter. Something about the headband,
Yeah,
as you
headband
said,
helps
him
totally.
being lefty, whether it's a dunk, whether it's just making a big play, just sort of, I guess, did it for me. Like never, and I'm saying this very generously, or not generously, but never did anything like incredibly crazy. Just sort of did everything.
I
Uh,
mean, when he
his
posterized Otto Porter, that
correct.
was crazy.
I don't mean it like there were never big plays, but he just sort of was so consistently fun and good. And I think whether or not it was a charge or not will
I knew
always
that was
be
coming. I knew
a
someone was
play
coming
that
with
comes
that.
to mind. And I don't think you can get through a CJ Fair chat without mentioning that, or at least thinking it. He deserves to be in terms of, I think, favorites of many, especially younger fans. Um, if you watch CJ Fair play, like he just played a game that was fun to watch, and I think is probably on many favorite fives in terms of this age range that we
Yeah,
are
he was. I
currently
mean, he
in.
was just the man, dude. He was the man.
Yeah,
You
without
can't
a
not
doubt.
love that guy.
I dig
Um,
it. I'm there.
my other wing is the pizza man himself, Marek Dolezaj. I mean,
Wow,
that guy.
that's a people's
I mean,
choice.
for our age range, I mean, I don't know how many people are going to leave him off. Like he was just the absolute people's champ. I mean, from day one, too. His whole story about like getting a letter in the mail, like a regular college recruitment letter from Syracuse or an email or whatever it was, uh, and being like, all right, I want to go play basketball at Syracuse, and them signing him without seeing him play, like that's crazy. And he turned out to be like everything they needed at times. I mean, he was really, I mean, even from his freshman season, I mean, he started 17 games his freshman year and was a huge part of the team. Junior year, putting up 10 points a game. I mean, playing center. The guy was so skinny. They called him 200 pounds. Sure. Sure. Yeah, sure. He was 6'10, like 185, and he played center, taking charges from Zion Williamson. I mean, he was the man. I was at the Georgetown game where he lost the tooth. He runs off the floor. Nobody knows what's going on. And Boeheim's like, "What are you, tooth? Get back out there." Marek's playing without a tooth.
That was
Oh, that
unreal.
was so crazy, man. I loved Marek. He was just. I got to see him play in the TBT this summer. He was just a man. I love that guy.
Yes, that's a people's choice. I like him on the list. He's not on mine. Um, my other sort of forward here is a transfer in Wes Johnson.
Okay.
Absolutely electric player, really fun to watch. Just sort of was one of the first names that came to mind reading this question, reading this prompt. So I'm putting him in there. I will mention this about if you're ever bored, you can watch Wes Johnson's NBA career end when James Harden sends him to the floor. That is one of the funniest videos I will ever watch in terms of basketball. It's absolutely career ending. But we'll talk about his time at Syracuse. Just like a fun player, had a big moment, had some pops, had some just like stood out to me in terms of when I'm watching games and he's playing, like that was where my focus was, and it stayed there for a while. And I think that's sort of why I have him in this list. And I'll always, and it wasn't a ton of time, like it was short lived, but that team was so good, and I think that's why I go to him, because he was, the man, and an unreal sort of player on a team that was at a level that I think any team wished they could be at. When you look at that 29 or 2009 2010 team that puts up 30 wins and has a really good run and just was a very very good team, and him being sort of the face ish, not completely. That team was way too outstanding to call him the face, but to just be such a big contributor and a big time player on a team that was that good. Sort of keeps him in my mind as an all-time favorite for me personally.
Sure. Absolutely. I loved Wes as well. And like you said, that team, absolutely fantastic. AO doesn't get hurt. They probably win the whole thing. Um,
Yeah,
Wes was the man. Wes was the absolute man.
that whole
He did get
starting
his
five
ankles
was the
broken.
man. Genuinely,
They were good, dude.
that
They were
whole
really,
starting
really
five
good.
was the man. Literally
Um,
top to bottom, so good. Trish
I'm
Routins,
going to look at it right now.
Wes, and then imagine you had one of Rick Jackson or Arinze Onuaku
Yeah,
in the
that
years
was a really
since.
good team.
Yeah,
That was a really, really good team. Yeah, great team. One of the
glory
best I
days.
think Syracuse has ever had, honestly.
Yeah,
30-5. They were so good.
incredible.
Okay. My final man on this team, I guess not final because we're going to do a six man. But my final starter is, if not CJ Fair, this guy's my favorite player of all time. It's Fab Mello. Rest in peace, the GOAT. I loved Fab Mello. Really, like he was one of the players in sports that I don't know if idolize is the right word, but immediately was like that's like I love that guy. Like I would
Encapsulating.
when I was a kid, I would playing like NBA 2K12, and I would put Fab Mello in the game and make him like all 99 stats and just absolutely dominate with him on whatever bad, like it was like the Cavs were bad at the time. So I'd pop him on the Cavs and like he would just dominate because he was like he was an old school Syracuse center in the fact that he protected the rim incredibly and he would catch lobs from half court and slam them down. Like he was everything Syracuse needs in a center. His numbers are not eye popping. You know, when you go back and look at him, in his last season, he has scored 8 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, but he did block 3 shots a game. But his play was just everything they ever needed. And I absolutely loved Fab. He was also huge, like 7 foot 250. None of this stuff with these stringy centers. He was massive and he was imposing and he would go against anybody's big and absolutely shut them down. How about his game against Seton Hall back in 2011? Had a double double, 12 points, 10 blocks. He was such a dog, man. I freaking loved Fab Mello. That was my guy.
I This was my hardest choice because I RIP am not as big a Fab Mello fan as you are. Um, I go back to try and find the big names. Craig Forth is too early for me to answer as mine, even though I did call GMAC, but Forth didn't necessarily stand out mentally as much as GMAC did. Um, Fab Mello is a good choice. I don't think I can land on Raheem Christmas. I will say Baikita is very close to my choice here, but I think you're going to find a trend here. I will take Arinze Onuaku. And if you just said that I could list my favorites, it's pretty damn near the 2009-2010 team as a whole. That just could genuinely be my
That's
answer.
fair.
Um, but
Totally fair.
I think I'm going with AO because it's a name that I always throw out there when we talk about centers for Syracuse, and it's been such a frequent topic of discussion in the last I don't know 5 or 6 years maybe since Christmas left or since Christmas finished up. And I think we go back and we usually say the best center since Raheem Christmas, but I think AO is the gold standard in terms of collegiate centers, at least in that old embodiment of what the center is, and not this slightly different, more shooting focused big man that you're starting to see, especially in the NBA and in college as well. But AO is just what I picture as a center when I think like, why can't we get back to the days of solid centers and high performing centers? Your mind goes to Onuaku, and that's not to say that Jesse is not playing great basketball in his own and doing stuff like that. But even now with Jesse, like you're looking back, and I think it's just a pure glory days moment when I think of AO and I think of the effectiveness in terms of my lifetime that a center has had for Syracuse basketball.
That's definitely fair. I think we both named old school guys that are just huge and nobody wants to play against, and
Yeah.
they'll block your shot and slam it on the other end.
Quick sixth man.
For sure. Quick six man for me. Mine's a little bit of a spoof, but I love this guy. Give me Frank Howard. I know it didn't
The
end up great
trenches.
for him at the end. People weren't happy with him because of the suspension. But listen, that man was in the trenches fighting. I
The
freaking love that
trenches.
guy. He was an absolute dog. His junior year, he was so good. Senior year, whatever, forget it. That junior year, he was so freaking good. I love that guy. Give me Frank.
Give me Johnny Flynn. I couldn't put him as my starting point guard, but I can put him as an honorable mention. Fun to watch, absolutely electric, really exciting. Honorable mention James Sutherland. If we were going true sixth man in
For
that they
sure, for
actually
sure.
came off the bench,
Or Dion.
he would have been my choice as well. Both just fun players, really enjoyable to watch. Once again, just give me the 2010 team and call it a day, please.
Let us know your favorite 5 in the comments below. We'll definitely
Yeah,
like to
please.
read those. But thanks for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. Go make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. Peter Bukowski goes around the sports world in 20 minutes. That's Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Matt Bonaparte. He is Owen Valentine. We'll see you later.